Melanie Bannister here from Sylvan Learning, and we're talking about fatigue, that last term in school that, you know, you kind of maybe take your foot off the pedal a little bit, but there are some big assignments to focus on. Absolutely.
This time of year, kids tend to lose focus on the goals for the end of the year. So it's really important as a parent to sit down with them and review what their goals are. Make a plan. So use a calendar and put all those big assignments and big projects on that calendar, and then keep some pens handy and look at how do we get to those goals, and then as you achieve them and as you finish those assignments, then cross them off the calendar.
Right, and on that calendar can be picnics at the beach and playing football with your friends and going, but it's just focusing on the bigger things, and really that's the big tests that come in. We all have, you know about the government exams, and there's stress involved with, you know, what happens if I'm not prepared?
Definitely. So what you want to do is you want to sit down with your kids and help them to understand what the implications are of slacking off at this time of year, especially for those older kids that are, you know, the stakes are a little bit higher. They're heading into exams that might determine university entrance. So you really want to sit down with them and talk about the goals and what happens if you don't do well on this assignment, or what happens if you don't do well on this test. And that can also relieve some test anxiety for some kids as well, because talking through it helps them to, you know, deal with some of that anxiety.
And that's a really good point, Melanie, because I remember as a teenager, even when I did study, I would walk into those tests feeling like, oh my gosh, I've forgotten everything. How can we arm our kids and teens to just calm down just that moment before? What's a good piece of advice in that regard?
Well, a good piece of advice is to teach them how to do some deep breathing, because they will automatically start to calm down with some big deep breaths. You know, you have to, preparation, a big part is to be prepared, is one of the best ways to reduce some of that anxiety. But you can have them count and do some deep breathing, square breathing, and do some, just count backwards from 10 to calm themselves down.
And focus also, I guess, on how they've made it through the other tests in the past and looking at past results.
Exactly. And, you know, teach them that they don't have to answer that first question right away. You know, scan through the test, take a look at the different options of what questions to answer. And if you come up to one that you don't know how to do, skip it and go on to the next one. You can always come back to the one you weren't sure about. And often something later in the exam will trigger them, or a memory, to remember what the answer was to that earlier question.
I actually got goosebumps on that piece of advice. What a great one. Go through the whole test. You don't have to stop at the one that stumps you. Excellent. And if somebody is doing well when it comes to study habits, what's a good reward?
Oh, well, depending on the age, but you can take them on a trip to the mall with their friends, or a trip to the movies with their friends. They love that. Younger kids, of course, will love to spend some time with you, and a trip to the ice cream shop down at the beach is a great one.
So making it consequence-based in both regards, but how do you motivate perhaps a kid that is on a track that is just not working, and the parent feels like there's nothing more I can do shy of doing this report for this kid?
Well, you know, seek outside help. Sometimes it's hard sometimes with the parent-child relationship to maintain the focus, and kids are very emotional often with their parents, and parents can easily be frustrated when the kids aren't focusing. So sometimes seek some outside help, or as a parent, take a deep breath and understand that their emotion or their frustration is coming from that insecurity or that fear of not doing well, and that they need some guidance at that time, and just sometimes just sitting near them while they do their work will help.
Right, a little bit more focus there. And because it is this time of year, it's lighter earlier, it's lighter later, it's warmer weather, the routine of a rainy day kind of goes out the window, literally. How important is routine?
Well, routine is really important for kids. They like to know what to expect is coming next. Also at this time of year, it is getting lighter out and the kids want to be outside. So add a little bit of outside time to the routine, because that will help them to sit down and do their homework after. But if you've worked really hard to build that routine all year, you know, bedtime at 8:30 because there's a 6:30 wake-up call, you want to stick with that. Kids will, with routines, will rest better, and well-rested kids focus better in class, and they do better on tests, and they can manage any of that test anxiety a lot better if they're well rested.
Get a good breakfast in you as well. Thank you, Melanie Bannister, as always, from Sylvan Learning. Great tips for getting through that late school year fatigue.